Hello and welcome back to the On The Slab horror show, the show that we bring to you each and every Friday night. The t-shirt reads it, Friday night is horror night. Um, for my guest here tonight, obviously being from the UK, he might have a general understanding. As I explain it, 10 p.m. on a Friday night was the watershed, and that's when on free to air TV, that's when we got a lot of the classics being put on. So that's why
Excellent.
we released this show at 10 o'clock on a Friday night. I'd say you would have been the same based in the UK, wouldn't it?
9 o'clock watershed here, so it's a bit more liberal. But when I was growing up, what you used to get on, I think it was Channel 4, used to have a red triangle in the corner as a kind of warning that it was going to have racy material. And if you were a teenager, it was like, yes, don't care what this is, which is how you ended up watching quite a lot of boring art house movies that had a lot of nudity. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
there was no
yeah.
warning. But for ourselves, it was 10 o'clock,
Right,
and instead of Channel 4, because sometimes you had Channel 4, sometimes you didn't on free to air.
right,
But
right.
we had TG4, RTE, things like that used to show horror movies once a week.
Excellent.
That's where I got to see my very first horror movie, actual horror movie, which was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Good start.
Snuck,
Excellent start as you mean to
snuck,
go on.
snuck down the stairs at the age of 12. Knew which
Excellent.
stairs creaked and everything. Perfect.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, and I've been hooked ever since. That's still my favorite horror movie today.
Your first is very often your favourite. Mine was The Omen, which I watched far too young. But also I read the book, which I found at a. We were on holiday, and I found it for like 10p in a secondhand bookshop. And I hadn't realised that a lot of the Bible stuff in there was completely made up. And I thought it was all totally true. The coming of the Antichrist and everything. So it really got to me. So I do love
Was it
The Omen.
Revelations or something, wasn't it? Is that what they
Yeah,
put it
there
as?
was, and it was this prophecy of, I forget it now. It's this prophecy of when a child is born and blah blah blah, and the coming of the Antichrist. But it all had that. David Seltzer gave it that kind of ring of authenticity, that kind of Old Testament authenticity, which when you're a kid and you've had a strong Catholic influence in your life, you really buy into that stuff. So it was it was quite traumatizing.
But as for the intro, we kind of diverge straight into that. Tonight we are joined by a guest of a new and very entertaining Irish horror movie. He's an author. He was the screenwriter for the Unwelcome. Welcome, Mr. Mark Stay. How are you?
I'm good, Greg. Great to see you. Thanks for having me on the show. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for your kind
Thanks for
words.
taking the time to come on, especially with the release of the movie not so long ago. I imagine it was busy times.
It's a weird time when you have a film out. It's kind of like I remember that the we had previews on a Tuesday night, and this film has been we shot it in 2020, sort of in that sandwich lockdown sandwich, between after the first lockdown, before the second one, and so it was shot 2020, and then they kept putting back the release date because of COVID and because
Which is
audiences
fair.
weren't well, yeah, they weren't going to movies, and then we had a date, then Omicron arrived, and then they were going to put it in Halloween, and then they bumped it again. So it's this has been a long time coming, and I'd kind of reconciled myself with the fact that maybe it's never going to come out or whatever, and then suddenly it's out, and suddenly, and I remember we had these previews on the Tuesday night that were, I think it was just in a handful of cinemas, across the country, and a lot of people didn't know what they were going to see. They had little idea of what it was when they were going in. So I remember sitting up late at about 11 o'clock, realizing people would be coming out the movie houses at that time, and they would be having opinions. And it's like standing on the end of a diving board. You go to a swimming pool as a kid, and there's the biggest diving board, and because you're 11, you go to the top, and you think, I'm going to jump off that. And when you get up there, you think, oh, maybe this is such a good idea. And so I'm standing on the edge of that diving board, and I'm looking at the pool, and I've no idea if in the pool that those little fish that nibble your toes and take off all the dead skin and make you feel good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The pool could be full of them, or it could be full of piranhas. or a bit of both. So it was a kind of thing. Do I look on Twitter? Do I have a look at? Do I dare look at this? So it was a kind of a terrifying moment. So that whole, certainly that first week was very discombobulating, because you're getting opinions left, right, and center, and you don't know up from down. So I downloaded a meditation app, and I would sort of lock myself away and try and not think about it, because
Headspace, was it?
yes, it was. I did the free trial for like 2 weeks or wherever it is, and then stopped before it took all my money. So it was it was a weird couple of weeks, and it's not like, because when I've published 7 books now, and there's more on the way, and when a book comes out, people tend to get them in advance, and they leave reviews on Goodreads, so you get this sort of trickle of what people think about it, and then the book is released, and you have an idea by the time the book is released if people are going to like it or not. So you ease yourself into it, whereas this was boom, we're off, we're running, people have opinions.
I mean, I get that, and I would never look too much into the reviews that people leave, well, especially the bad ones anyway. Like,
you have to take the good. You have to take with the good, the bad. If you believe the good ones, you have to believe the bad ones. And this is the thing. I mean, it's something you learn once you've been doing this for long enough. You understand that once it's out there, it's theirs. It's their thing, and they will see it, and they will bring themselves to the book, to the film, whatever it is you've created. And when those two things mingle, it's a unique experience, which is why everyone's going to have a different opinion, have a different response. So you can't get too wrapped up in it. You have to understand it's their thing now. And if they have a take on it, if that's wildly different to your own or whatever, great. When you create something, you're bringing something into the world that will affect people. It might piss them off. It might make them deliriously happy. It might give them a thrill. But you put something out in the world, and people are affected by it one way or the other. So you have to kind of reconcile yourself to that as a creative. Same with music, same with art, sculpture, whatever it is. People are going to have an opinion, and as my dear old man used to say, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one.
I'm more going off the likes of, if you go onto a horror film and you go onto the likes of Rotten Tomatoes, you get people giving it bad reviews. I don't like horror films. Oh, it didn't do this, it didn't do that. Okay, don't be a fucking dickhead and review them. If you don't like horror films, don't watch it. No one gives a shit that you don't like it. Do you know what I mean?
These are the joys of the internet. That back in when I was a lad, if someone didn't like it, you might hear about it when you were down the pub, or you met up with them, or hung around outside the cinema, and maybe you were blissfully unaware of their opinion. But now they're all out there, pebble dashing the Ethernet with their opinions. So this is the world we live in now, better or for worse.
Like, for the context of that, I went on to Letterboxd or Rotten Tomatoes just for the crack to have a look at the Jaws one, right? There's not enough of the shark in this movie. This movie is too slow. And I was like, your opinion means about as much as a chocolate teapot. Fuck off.
Well, I do a podcast for writers called The Bestseller Experiment, and we have writers who are just starting out, and some who are published and go off and win awards and stuff. And we talk about reviews a lot, particularly those Amazon reviews. And we do say to people, look, if you get a 1-star review, go and find your favorite author, and I guarantee they'll have a bunch of 1-star reviews. If you love Dickens, if you love Shakespeare, if you love Jane Austen, they're gonna have 1-star reviews. It's just weird because the human race is a fickle thing, and just got to live with it.
I'd be fairly thing, like I try and pick things apart when I get the chance to, but I wouldn't be one of these ones that I go on to Rotten Tomatoes or Letterboxd or something and give it a bad review, because I don't like that type of movie. Like, I don't like period piece movies. I mean, I'm gonna go on and watch Pride and Prejudice and give it a fucking half a star because I found it boring. But I mean, exactly, I'll watch it and that'll be that.
Yeah, I mean, the flip side of that, you get very well-meaning people who will, and I get this a lot, who will come up to me and they will say, I'd love to see it, but I don't like horror. I can't, I've not, and I'm like, that's fine. don't feel obliged to go and see it if you don't like horror. It's like any other genre. You might not like musicals, you might not like westerns. Some people don't like horror. Just if you're not, I especially you get this with friends and relatives, and they kind of like they feel obliged to go and see it to support you, kind of thing. And it's like, seriously, if it gives you the heebie-jeebies or it's just not your thing, I'd rather you didn't go and see it, because we made this film firstly for ourselves, because it's the kind of film that John Wright, the director, and I wanted to see, and it's a story we were passionate about, with themes and ideas that we're passionate about, and we made it to please ourselves, and then we made it to please a horror audience who loves being thrilled and seeing a bit of blood and guts, and also we both, I know I don't sound it, but I have Irish heritage. My mum's side of the family all from Ireland. John was born in Belfast. So we've grown up hearing those stories, those folk tales and fairy tales and what have you. So, and we weren't seeing, apart from the the cartoon saloon animations, which I love, you're not seeing a lot of good Irish kind of folklore out there, at least not done on a budget either. No, so we thought it was a great opportunity to do something that that is an expression of us and the kind of stuff that we like. So, and take it or leave it,
Now, what you need to do is, this is something that I've said, one of the co-hosts, Ian, has said for a long time. We need a good horror banshee movie. We need it.
Right, okay.
That's your next project.
I'll add it to the list. I'll add it to the list, Greg. I'll add it to the list, yeah.
There's not a whole lot, like, when you think about it, the best one that you see now is probably still Darby O'Gill, and that came out in the 60s.
Right, gosh, yeah. And Banshees of Inisherin was a big letdown. There is one character in it that could be a banshee, and if you're not a horror fan, it might go straight over your head. But if you're a horror fan, there's one character in it, and you think, okay, right, like it. There's a nice little.
Don't like horror at all. No, I haven't watched it yet. I've heard so many mixed reviews on it, and I'm just kind of like, I'll get to it. I'm in no real rush.
I loved it. I think it's the best film about despair you're going to see. So.
Funny enough, you're about the third person that said that to me.
Right. Okay.
And then I think back, I'm like, one of the best ones I've seen of a complete breakdown in people was Falling Down, and that's the way I can.
Right. Yeah.
I can do it. So if it's anywhere near as good as that, obviously it's in a different context the way
Very
it's happening.
Different.
But,
yeah.
But like, that's his dive into despair and madness.
Yeah.
So I do like Farrell, and I do like Gleeson.
They're great. They are great.
And then obviously your movie stars the other big Irish star. The man who seems to be in every Irish movie ever made since the dawn of time, in Colin Meaney.
Yeah, and we even named the character after him, thinking that maybe we'll get him, and we did. So, I mean, it was one of these things where you might be able to cast three people. There's Colin, there's Brendan, there's Liam. So any one of those guys would have been brilliant. But Colin is terrific, absolutely fantastic. Loved him.
You could have had now, which Liam are you talking about? Neeson?
Oh yeah.
You could have used Liam Cunningham.
Yeah, that's true. Thing is, when people talk about casting in movies, if you're just a viewer, you just think, oh, they can cast anyone. They could ask that guy to do it or that guy to do it. But when you're dealing with a budget, you want someone who's going to get bums on seats. You need people with a track record.
You need a name.
Yeah, you need a name. And I was just before I came to see Philadelphia was on the TV, the Jonathan Demme movie, and Tom Hanks is in that, and that got a lot of flack because it was like, he's a straight guy, he's they should have cast someone who's gay to do it. But first of all, there were no actors who were outwardly gay in that time who had any kind of box office, who could have drawn a Hollywood. And this was a movie made for straight people. It was people who were ignorant and scared of AIDS and gay people, and it was saying to them, look, that we got a straight guy in this. You don't have to feel threatened. Sit down and watch the movie. So many of these things, when there's casting, it's like, you know, Brendan Fraser in The Whale. They're saying, oh, they should have cast a guy that big.
Yeah, that's a fucking joke.
There isn't an actor out there that big, and if there is, they don't have the box office of even someone like Brendan Fraser or The Pull, you know. So sometimes these decisions are wrong, you know. It's sometimes they will cast someone who's completely inappropriate just because they've got box office, and it doesn't work. But this is a business, and these are big financial considerations that come into account. So you know, we were delighted to get Con, because, you know, the man's I'm a huge Star Trek fan as well, so the man is an absolute legend, you know. So he was terrific.
I don't like Star Trek.
Oh, Greg, this interview's over. Goodbye.
Mark has left the chat. No, like, I was looking at it and I was like, it really could have been any of those four.
Sure, right.
Theoretically, like Liam Neeson, obviously Brendan Gleeson is obviously the biggest name of the thing, obviously off the back of an Oscar nom.
Possibly. Liam Neeson's got massive box office.
He does.
Massive box office.
But I think okay, yeah, so you said 2020, so it probably would have been because Banshees hadn't been made yet. And like Liam Neeson had come off every action movie of the late 2010s.
Which all made a lot of money. They all made a lot of money. They're of varying quality.
Apart from that Walk Among the Tombstones, that was terrible.
Yeah, but all Hollywood cares about is money. It's all it cares about.
Yeah.
Shall I pitch the movie? Because I don't think we've pitched the movie yet for people, listeners who've not had the pleasure. Shall I give you my quick capsule pitch, and then we can all know what we're talking about.
Go for it.
So it's about a couple called Maya and Jamie, who are played by Hannah John Carmen and Douglas Booth. London couple, very progressive, really nice couple. They're about to have a baby. They have a terrible experience in their flat in London. There's a home invasion, and after that they move to Ireland, West Coast. We find them in a house in the middle of the country, big garden. There's a wall at the bottom of the garden with a hole in the wall. We leave an offering for the Far Derek, the Red Caps, with the little people beyond the wall, and you have to leave an offering for them every day. And if you miss an offering, then things go horribly wrong, and things go horribly wrong. So that's kind of the setup, and it's kind of a familiar setup, you know, moving to a new house. There's some kind of, you know, supernatural threat kind of thing, and you know, I wanted. We've always pitched it as Straw Dogs meets Gremlins, because there's an element, you know, the home invasion thing is there, and that's
a very good analogy pick to them.
That's
two movies you wouldn't think of.
That was our first pitch. It sold the script. It's been used in every pitch to financiers, to cast and everything, and now it's cropping up in reviews. So it's one of those pitches that just totally clicked and has carried all the way through. So it's really helped us. Really helped us. So yeah.
I mean, that's probably perfect. I mean to say, like, we'll get into it. I don't want to ruin the movie for people, so again, it's going to be another review where I'm going to try and not ruin it too much. The story was very good. Like, I put this on off the artwork and I had no clue what was going on.
Right.
And I mean, the way it starts, obviously in London, and the home invasion, you're like, what kind of fucking movie is this? I was like, is it a PTSD movie? Is it a thing? And then when they obviously mentioned the blood offering, I was like, what? What are they leaving offerings out for?
I mean, the film came about out of conversations that the director John Bright and I had about violence. And we come from working class families. We've both got quite masculine dads. You know, that we discovered by weird coincidence, when we were boys, we were both given boxing gloves for Christmas, and our dads got boxing gloves as well. So you'd have that thing where you'd have, you know, and we were expected to be masculine boys, but the both of us fell in love with films, and we're quite artsy fartsy, and we're also total cowards. You know, we hate getting in fights. Violence gives us the shakes, you know. And we were talking about this thing of, okay, well, if you and I are pacifists and we'll try and negotiate our way out of an argument, we'll walk away from a fight, we won't get involved. But actually, I've had situations where we used to live on on an estate, and there was one family, a bit like the Whelans in the film, who made everyone's lives a misery. And if they targeted you, they really made your life a misery. And so we, one day that I got into an altercation with them, and I got the shakes, and I was like, "What have I ended up shouting, and I'm like, "What have I become? I don't like what this does to me." But this aggression is in there, and I think it's in all of us. And a weird influence on this film was a Mike Leigh TV movie called Nuts in May, which is about this hippy dippy couple who go on a camping holiday, and they're going there for peace and calm, and then this couple turn up on a motorbike with a loud radio and a football, and it all gets very aggressive, and the peaceful couple, the husband in it, snaps. He just completely loses it, and he ends up like our hero Jamie at one point, which you see in the trailer, where he's weeping and he's all I wanted was some peace. So we wanted to explore that thing of let's take a really nice progressive couple, people you'd want to be mates with, you'd love to have as neighbors, you'd get on with, they're really, really nice and forward thinking and right on, and then just keep prodding them and see how long before they snap and do something. And when that violence is unleashed, it's out, and it changes you, and it changes the people around you. So it was an exploration of that, and we had a lot of fun with it, going to some very dark and disturbing places.
I mean, watching them, you could see his attitude change more and more as the movie goes on. Obviously you see him then with the boxing gloves and stuff.
Yeah.
But like even how he originally talks to them, and then it becomes more and more snapping at them. I mean, they ate the man's biscuits. They ate his hobnobs.
Chocolate hobnobs, exactly. Never take a man's
hobnobs are top tier.
Hey, thank you. Yes, absolutely. And
they're fucking top tier biscuits, to be fair.
But
they're not cheap either.
No, they're not. And it's that thing of he's expected to be the masculine one. He's expected to man up. We get told this as boys: man up, don't cry, stick up for yourself, kind of thing. And Maya, his wife, is the negotiator, the peacemaker, the one who brings them, who calms everything down. These are the roles that people expect from heterosexual partnerships like that. So it's and certainly some of the women in my life have stepped up and manned up and lashed out, and so we know there's a lovely line where she Maya's talking about her mother, who Maya was nearly kidnapped when she was a baby, and her mother decked the guy who did it, and she says, "Don't fuck with Mama Bear." And there's such a key line in the film because it tells you kind of where it's going and what's going to be unleashed. So it's taking ordinary people and seeing how long it takes to turn them into savage, violent beasts.
Like even apart from the couple, what I loved was the small town. Obviously they have the pub and everybody kind of knows everybody.
Yeah.
We have them actual characters that you'd find in real life. We have usually the guy who gets palladic drunk in the corner.
Yeah.
Who comes out with the most outrageous things. Yeah,
well, that was Laura Roddy, who's kind of, I think he's John's lucky charm, because he was in Grabbers, he was in Robot Overlords. He's a lovely guy, he's a brilliant actor. We were both very wary of, Paddy Wackery, of having the cliched drunk Irishman in there. But we thought, if we're going to have him, let's kill him off straight away. Let's make an example of him, kind of thing. So but we just love Lola Roddy. He's a terrific actor, and he delivers some of those lines.
I'm not gonna give the line out on TV because it'll just make it'll just make it kind of less funnier when you see it.
Yeah.
But I mean to say, I laughed so hard that she nearly woke up upstairs when I was watching it. But like, it was brilliant, and as I said, I didn't know what to expect, and obviously the Straw Dogs Cross the Kremlins is a really good point to it, because when you actually see what it is, it makes a lot of sense. Like the first time you see anything is on the side of the castle.
Yes.
But you don't see anything.
Yeah. Well, you talked about that Jaws thing earlier. John and I are very much in that less is more kind of thing. You want to build up to the reveal, and then because we had Sean Harrison design and Paul Catling did the sort of the artwork for them. Sean Harrison did the masks. Our VFX team brought the faces to life, and we had Rick Warden and a bunch of actors acting as the Red Caps. So it was a big team effort to bring them to life, and you want to build up to that reveal, and I don't think it disappoints. I mean, even people who don't like the film say, we wish there'd been more red. I mean, we wish there'd been more Red Cap. We wrote more Red Caps, certainly in the ending, but the budget, it all gets cut back. So there, you build up to that, but you have to get to know your people first. You need to care about these people before you start flinging shit at them. So that was important.
I think like the character development in this was very good, and as you said, the break, seeing how much you can get them to break. I think a lot of films as of late aren't doing that. One of the biggest ones that I've seen in the last while was the 2022 Texas Chainsaw.
Right.
You couldn't get into any of the characters.
Well, I mean, I think there's an assumption that we're all having diminishing, attention spans, and that we have to really get to the meat of something really, really quickly. And there's something to be said about that. Cut to the chase, get us excited, engage the audience, but that doesn't necessarily mean going straight to the money shot straight away. Let's. I like to think that the stuff, all the character stuff, isn't. It's not eating your greens to get to dessert. Hopefully it's entertaining as well, and I think a good horror movie, you can take the supernatural stuff out of it and still have a good story. If you took the shark out of Jaws, you still have those three brilliant men at the center of it and all the banter that they have. So and then when you throw the supernatural element into it, then it really tests them, and that's what I think a good monster movie or horror movie should do, is take our darkest fears and test us with them, and see how we react.
That whole less is more actually works really well for horror as well, because your own mind then
absolutely
what it, like as it says, you see on the side of the castle, you just see the thing jump down, you don't see anything, it's just like a little red dot, and then you don't see anything probably 45 minutes into the movie, 50 minutes into the movie.
It's about halfway. It's about halfway. Yeah.
But like at this point, it just looks like another home invasion happening to them, and you're like, you poor bastards. Twice. And like I was actually sitting watching it, and obviously you see the Whelans for the first time, and I was like, is that Hodor from Game of Thrones?
Yeah, we were very lucky. And John, John being Irish, wanted to cast. He'd seen too many films set in Ireland where you get a token American in doing a terrible Irish accent or whatever. So we wanted to get. So we got Christian Nairn from Game of Thrones. We've got Chris Wally from Young Offenders. We've got Jamie Lee O'Donnell from Derry Girls. Now Jamie was very aware that she's got Belfast accent, and so she worked with Chris to get her accent as good as it could be. And then we got Colm as well. So we got this wonderful dysfunctional family, and we got Niamh Cusack in there as well, acting legend. So yeah, we wanted a good Irish cast. Because I don't know if you spotted, but I'm an extra in the pub scene, and I did have one line, and John cut it because of my terrible Irish accent. So yeah, very strict rule there. Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's not like you couldn't be English in the pub,
Oh no, big rewrite.
Not
there. You have to explain.
Anyway. I didn't actually notice. I'll have to go back and rewatch it again.
It's the scariest bit of the film, Greg. Scariest bit of the film.
Yeah, I mean, an Englishman trying to do an Irish accent.
Yeah, terrified.
Could be worse. I just said it could be an American doing it, and there is one that you couldn't be any worse than. I don't know whether you've ever seen the movie Backcountry.
No, I've not. No.
It's based on a true story of a couple that were attacked by a black bear.
Right.
Funny enough, they were talking about bears with Cocaine Bear and he coming
Yeah.
But it's based on a true story. They went camping and the bear attacked her.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know whether you remember the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, the Michael Bay one.
I avoided it, but I know of it. Yeah.
Well, shouldn't avoid it. It's better than the original.
Whoa, fighting talk. Okay, go on.
I'm always there. The only thing I'd change is Leatherface himself.
Right.
Everything else around it is much better. But the main actor in that plays an Irish guy who found them in real life,
Right.
and it's, by God, it's the worst Irish accent you'll ever hear in your whole life.
What worse than
Oh,
Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise in Far and Away.
Tom Cruise deserves an Oscar compared to this. Oh, it's so bad, so bad. Um, but like as this goes on, that you can obviously tell that the Whelans are taking the mick. Like they just let themselves into the kitchen one morning. They
Yeah.
smash a window.
Yeah.
They're watching her go into the bathroom, which was extremely weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's playing on that middle class fear of we've got some common people in the house, you know. So
Yeah,
it is. I think it's a very common fear that people will have of having builders or work people in the house, and they might be a bit rough, they might break something, or they break wind, you know, all these terrible. So there's a kind of an anxiety sort of background radiation going on there. But then they do start doing really terrible things, insidious little things that nicking coins, nicking his hobnobs, eating his grapes, you know, all these little things that can niggle someone and get their
not
back up.
flushing the jacks.
Exactly, yeah. So you know, already you're kind of unsettled, and we wanted to have some fun playing with that. So yeah, it's they're kind of, like I said, they are sort of based on a family that used to live near me, and the story went that one of the kids of this family kicked down half of someone's white picket fence, and they complained to the father, and the father came round and he kicked down the rest of the fence. So you know, it's kind of, it's like there are some people who pick a fight, who revel in a fight. So you've got our characters, you know, you've got Maya and Jamie, who are pacifists, want to negotiate, want to back away from a fight. And then you've got people who are loving it, want to ruck, love an argument, want to provoke and prod and poke. And you know, so in many ways, they're scarier than the Red Caps for me.
Absolutely, and I think it's because that's actually um, happening to people.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Now, I'd imagine there might be a bit of backlash over, obviously, one of the sons is meant to be mentally disabled. I'm gonna
No,
say.
I don't think he is. I don't think he's mentally. I mean, that's your interpretation.
He plays it that way.
Well, I had a long conversation with Christian about this, and I think he's just introverted. I think he's just been bullied. I think he's been beaten and bullied all his life, and he's cowed. That's what he is. He's not meant to be mentally slow or anything. But he's been told, if you tell someone their whole life that they're useless, then they're going to walk around with their head down, not speaking, and completely withdrawn, which is what he is. But he does have a violent streak as well. So I mean, again, like I said earlier, you hand it over to people, they have their own interpretation. He's not written as mentally ill, he's written as someone who's been abused, who's been beaten and told that they're a thicko for the whole of their lives. And that's what you end up with.
That's how I took it until that scene in the forest when he starts
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
But I was sitting watching it, I was like, ooh, I have a feeling this is going to get some backlash. Obviously, because
We haven't, I think
Colin,
you're the.
Colin Meaney obviously hitting them and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh. Now, that's just me. Now, I could have picked it up wrong until that scene in the forest.
Mm.
But then it gets a little dark.
Yeah, well, we talked to, like I said, so Christian, you know, we had him in the script, he has a Game Boy. Christian said, make it a pink one. I said, why make it pink? He said, because he could only afford a second-hand one, and they got him the pink one, you know, because it's a girly colour, because that's what they think is funny. And so he added, and of course he's always walking around with his headphones on, and he said he'd be listening to thrash metal all the time. You know, so Christian really brought a lot to this. We really went into that character someday. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, as far as Christian's playing it, he's a victim of abuse who becomes an abuser. That's where he's coming from.
I mean, he played the part really well as well.
Oh, he's terrific. Yeah, I love him in it.
Yeah. Like even in Game of Thrones, you put him down as you believe what's happening to him. And in this one, I was really surprised to see him in this. Obviously, I haven't seen much of him since Game of Thrones.
Well, he's in Our Flag Means Death, and he's terrific in that. Really, really good show, Taika Waititi show, and he's very funny in that, and he's a lot more lively in that as well. But we needed a big guy. We needed, we wanted someone with presence. And again, like Colm, he was at the top of our list, and I think he was the first person we sent it to, and he said yes. So we really lucked out there, and he really committed to it. I think he had a lot of fun doing it as well. He's it's tricky because he doesn't have many lines, and that's very difficult to do. You know, you watch a film like The Fugitive, and Tommy Lee Jones won the Oscar because he has all the zippy, snappy comebacks and the funny lines or what have you. But the one really doing all the work there is Harrison Ford, because he's acting. You know, it rarely has anyone to bounce off. It's really hard to do. And so what Christian's doing is that kind of, he's internalizing everything, and just living it and breathing it, and that comes out in his performance, which is why I think it's such a lovely understated performance.
I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I actually would put it down to him probably being second best in the film.
Okay, right, okay, that's lovely of you.
Jonathan Booth, I think, stole the show though.
Okay, cool.
Just his going from his, what would you say, his weak demeanor to
So
eventually snapping.
Douglas Booth, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, Douglas Booth. Sorry,
yeah.
What did I say?
Well, that was.
Jonathan, sorry, yeah.
I mean, it was. I think I could probably say this now. It was a difficult role to cast because we sent it to a lot of quite big name actors who loved it till they got to the end, and they got to the end. They're like, "Can't he save the day? Can't he fight back?" You know, again, I want to go spoiler light here. But I'm like, no, he's got to do what happens.
The script is the script.
yeah. And Doug really committed to it, and that scene where you see him break down, crew gave him a round of applause. You know, he really committed to it. He really threw himself into it, and it's a really brave thing to do because actors kind of want to come across as macho because they might be cast as Bond one day or a superhero or whatever, you know. So it's quite an exposing thing to do, and I salute him for it. I think he's terrific, absolutely terrific.
I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. Now don't get me wrong, that's not saying anybody wasn't.
No, I think we got a great ensemble, and I mean Hannah John Carmen as Maya. Again, just really commits to it. She's a proper horror fan as well. You know, I know John had conversations with her before she was cast, and she loves the genre, and she was really excited to be a part of it. So and there are some, like, there's shots of her in a white dress running through the woods, which I had in my mind's eye when I was writing it, and then you see it and it looks like a brilliant Hammer horror movie or something. It has this kind of timeless quality to it, which I found really exciting. And our cinematographer, and our cinematographer is a guy called Hamish Doyne Ditmas, and he got these amazing lenses. John will probably tell you about this as well. He got these old lenses that were made with lead in the glass, which you can't do these days. It's not allowed anymore. And it has this kind of diffuse light in it that gives it an old-fashioned kind of feel. So it's the film has its own really lovely kind of weird, otherworldly kind of look to it as well. So and she looks terrific in it. I think she's just great.
What I do like as well is it doesn't actually put Ireland. The other way, certain if movies are made by, say, the UK or made by America, Ireland are look like they're still in the Stone Age and stuff when they're in the smaller towns. I really don't like that. I think it takes away from the film because there are some towns, but not all of them. But like this one actually made Ireland, or made that town look up to date to an extent.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? You know, we're not remaking The Quiet Man, although it was shot near Kong, some of the drone shots that we did. I mean, this is the thing. If you've been there and you've met people, then you get an idea of what it's actually like. So, yeah, we didn't want to sort of pander to that. It is a rural community. It is isolated. You know, it's not some built-up suburb or whatever. But we wanted it. There's a fine line because you want it to feel real, but you also want the kind of otherworldly kind of feel to it as well, particularly when you get into the woods. So yeah, it's a tricky line to walk, but I think a lot of it is down to the actors as well. They were never, you know, you get someone like Neve Cusack, she's not playing some country bumpkin. This is, you know, an intelligent, erudite woman, very passionate about some of her beliefs, truly believes them, and you know, she was kind of our secret weapon in the film, Neve, because she delivered all the exposition, but did it like Alec Guinness in Star Wars. You know, you believed it, you really, really believed it, and that's I think that's the sign of her quality as an actor.
I mean, let's be fair. They should have just said yeah to her saying, "I'll do it for you." All right, you do that. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, there's always a pivotal decision in a movie where your hero takes a wrong turn, and yeah, they should have just left it to her, and it would. Mind you, they'd have still had the Whelans to deal with, so who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, then again, they would have been screwed then either way. So it comes full circle.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
And then obviously, I don't want to give too much away, but once you get the reveal, that scene in the house,
Yeah.
it was just I was sitting there watching it going, what? What? And I absolutely loved that it came in with like just a normal shop bag.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say what was in it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was like deadly, and you just
Well,
in and out, gone.
We thought someone would have littered that in the woods and they'd have found it and thought, well, they're kind of like, you know, evil wombles and collecting things. Because if you look at their cloaks and what have you, there are things like little bottle caps and things on there. They've collected things and decorated their hoods and coats and things with stuff they found in the woods. So yeah, they're anti-wombles.
I actually thought it was brilliant though. It just kind of potters in, leaves it down, and out he goes. Good luck.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks very much. See you later. Bye.
Well, it's the way, you know, I got a lot of friends. I'm allergic to cats and dogs, so I don't have any. But all my cat friends, you know, every week on Facebook. Just today, someone said their cat brought in a live rat into the house and sort of deposited it and said, "There you go," and the rat goes running off around the house. So it's that kind of thing of, you know, your pet brings something in and it's absolutely disgusting. Careful now, you'll have the cat lovers onto you. You don't want that. You don't want them on your back.
I definitely do, because I have an opinion box and you can fill it out and send it to me and it'll go straight into the shredder. Like that episode of The Simpsons, you know, the opinion box for Mr. Burns in the letterbox, straight into the shredder. But no, like overall the film, like anyone that I know that have seen it, and I've recommended it to a lot of people,
oh, thank you,
has been so well received.
Thanks, man.
But like, I just want to say massive congratulations on it. It's been very, very fun to watch and listen to the people that I know now that have seen it since.
Yeah,
well, I'm the first to watch it that I know.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It had this big release, but Warner's put no marketing behind it, so no one went to see it in the cinemas really. And now it's out to rent. I'm getting messages every day now from people going, "What the wow," kind of thing. So I think people, the more eyes we're getting on it, I think more people are enjoying it. And there are people who kind of know what it is because they've seen the trailer or looked it up. I've got a whole page on my website or whatever that describes it. And there are people who are going in completely cold, going like you, like I didn't expect this. I think I get this with my novels as well. The most common review I get from anyone who reads my books or sees my films is, "I don't normally like this sort of thing, but I really enjoyed it." So I think I just write stuff that's slightly left of center and a bit weird, that it can be difficult to categorize, but in the end, I think people like it once they get their heads around it, which is horribly uncommercial, but
I mean, like the very first place I seen this was on a horror page that someone shared in. It was like, "Oh, there's this new Irish horror movie coming out."
Right.
As soon as I seen Irish horror, I was like, "Yeah, gotta watch it."
Okay.
I've watched absolutely awful movies like Shrooms and stuff.
Right.
I was like, no, I was like, I'll give it a chance.
Yeah.
And then I seen John's name attached to it, and I was like, was like, I'm pretty sure he directed Grabbers, and
Yeah.
I was like, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a
Yeah.
great bit of fun.
Yeah. That's a great, and that's a script by Kevin Lahane, who's from Cork. And it's a
Shame
terrific
that.
script. Look, now, and it's a terrific film, and again, great performances, and I love it. It's one of those films that really punches above its weight. Great visual effects in that.
The Irish humor in it's brilliant as well.
Oh, it's terrific, absolutely terrific. Yeah, it
The
works on
whole
works on.
like they're
Yeah,
being attacked and they're like, nah, just get on with it.
yeah, exactly.
It was very Shaun of the Dead-esque, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Just
absolutely,
just hang
absolutely.
around and it'll
Yeah,
sort itself out.
exactly. Go to the pub, sorted. Yeah, yeah,
But and then I kind of had an idea of what way this was going to go. Obviously, as I said, I didn't realize what it was about until I go into it. I seen it on a horror page, and it was brief description.
right.
I was like, all right. I was like, this could be entertaining. I was completely blown away. Let me just see. So we have another horror, or we have another podcast. It's called Retrotainment Recast, where we recast all movies with actors of today, right?
All right. Okay.
And we do it in like a competition style. So thing, but we since last year we've kept a list of all the 2023 released movies.
Right.
So like 22 last year, obviously, and 23 this year, and we'd rank them as to where we'd score them on the thing. So I've seen 8 movies this year. All 8 of them happen to be horror movies.
Right.
The Unwelcome has made it to second.
Nice.
on
Thank
the
you.
list,
Thank you.
ahead of Scream.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
head of Cocaine Bear.
good. I enjoy Cocaine Bear, but that's good. I'm happy with that. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was a bit of crack, wasn't it?
It was fun. It was silly. It was fun. But it's fun.
It's sitting behind what I think is now one of the best werewolf entries in a long time in Viking Wolf.
I've not seen that. Viking
Netflix.
Wolf. I'm
Go
going to
and check that out.
I will check that out. That is two of you talk about combining things. Straw Dogs meets Gremlins. Viking Wolf. Yes, excellent. Okay, I will check that out.
And in what is my opinion is probably one of the best, if not the best, transformation scene since American Werewolf.
Right, and does it sort of play with the whole Fenris Viking mythology, wolf mythology kind of thing?
Not really.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll check it out.
To an extent, it's set in Norway now. When you go onto it on Netflix, it automatically has it dubbed.
Right.
And it took me like 5 minutes to realize that it wasn't in English, and I was like, no, just take this dubbing off and put it on to Norwegian.
Yeah. Okay.
But proper vicious, proper nerdy. It's behind that. But as I said, ahead of Scream.
Right. Excellent.
Stuff,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
But just before we wind down tonight, obviously he's had, my mind's gone blank now, the girl from Derry Girls.
Yes, Jamie Lee O'Donnell, who's terrific, absolutely terrific.
I would say, obviously you've made this in 2020, I'd say you were sitting there going, yes, watching the popularity of Derry Girls explode.
Well, I loved it anyways. It was a favourite show of mine anyway, and I was over the moon when we got her. And what's interesting, there's a scene in the pub where Jamie and Chris they confront Douglas, and they sort of got him cornered. That was actually written for Colm Meaney, but for one reason or another he wasn't available for that part of the shoot, so I had to do a quick rewrite and write it for the pair of them. And what was lovely, because I'd seen what they were doing, it was one of these things where they only really had a couple of scenes, and seeing the pair of them together, I thought, I wish I'd written more of them. So I suddenly had the opportunity to write a scene with the pair of them, knowing what they were capable of. And it's one of my favorite scenes in the film. I absolutely love it. She's terrific. He's terrific. They're so good together. I mean, it's.
I will say I've never seen Derry Girls, so I've no idea. But I know how popular it was.
You're missing a treat, mate. It's terrific. It's absolutely terrific.
I don't really watch a whole lot of TV shows.
And have you seen Chris in Young Offenders?
Oh, I love Young. I only watched the movie there not so long ago.
It's great, isn't it? It's really good fun. He's terrific.
Gas.
I love Chris. Yeah.
I remember going to see that in the cinema. Again,
Oh right, okay.
Another movie. I was like, no idea what
Yeah.
to expect.
Those two
Fucking,
together are so much fun. It's a great show. I love it.
yeah. But as I says, I really enjoyed this movie. And what we do is, um, we would score this on a rating system. Obviously, people have 5 stars, 5 this. We call it 5 slabs of me.
Right.
Um, I would score this at about a 4.
Brilliant. Thank you. I can ask for nothing more than 4 big chunky slabs of meat. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah. Well, you could ask for 5, but you're not going to get it.
Hey, they're your slabs of meat. You can't just dole these things out willy-nilly. You know, these.
I mean, there hasn't been very many 5s given.
Fair enough.
So, to
I
get that
appreciate
before, I think maybe a little bit more use to the red caps, maybe, but budgetary restrictions obviously come in.
We bloody wrote them, mate. We wrote them. We had great fun. John and I sat in this room, and we had a whiteboard with about 20 different ways of how we were going to, kill off red caps in fun and inventive ways. They all went in the script, but they all, not all of them, but quite a number of them got cut just for budget reasons.
Was it Army of Darkness style killings?
Kind of, yeah. There was a lot of, yeah. So it was written that way, mate, but a lot of it got cut. Such is movie business,
Such is life. As I said, I really, really enjoyed it.
Thanks,
and once I get a chance to pick it up on a hard copy, I will be.
Yeah, I don't know. No date for that or anything yet. I mean, who knows? They're not releasing that many DVDs and Blu-rays these days, sadly. So we'll see. It's one of these things. It might not. It's one of these things where it might come out in the States on a region free, and you have to import it or something like that. I don't know, but. If it happens, I'll blog about it. It'll be on my social media, what have you. So I'll be shouting from the rooftops.
And then, do you have anything else upcoming that you'd
like
to pitch?
I've got a series of books called The Witches of Woodville, which I pitch as the last 10 minutes of Bedknobs and Broomsticks meets Dad's Army. It's a lot less visceral than Unwelcome, but it does deal with a lot of good folk horror stuff. So if you enjoy folk horror and witches and Second World War, there are 3 out at the moment. First one's called The Crow Folk, then there's Babes in the Wood, The Ghost of Ivy Barn, and there's a 4th one coming in September called The Holly King, which is a Christmas horror. And they're my kind of go-to thing at the moment. So yeah, if you enjoy it, we were talking about books before the show, so I know you're a very selective reader, Greg. But, if you want to give them a go, they're out there now in all good and evil bookshops.
Every bookshop's evil to me. But absolutely, I'll try and pick them up somewhere and have a look and see. I mean, I read horror books, that's it. Mightn't be very many of them read, but I've read some. I mean, if they get made into a movie, I'll definitely watch it.
Well, you never know. I'm hoping for a major Netflix TV series or something like that. It's the dream for every author these days, but we'll wait and see.
I mean, if you're talking about TV shows coming out on something, Netflix is where you want it, really, isn't it? You might get a bit more creative design with Amazon Prime, but Netflix seems to be.
Well, we'll see. They seem to cancel everything after one season, so who knows?
Which is a shame, really, because some of the ones they've had have been really good.
I know. But again, money. All comes down to money, Greg. It's all they care about at the end. So if it makes them cash, then great. If it doesn't, out your ear.
What's good for business? To be fair, you have to wonder how much that can actually affect Netflix. Nearly everybody has a Netflix account anyway, so they're going to be getting that money anyway. They're not getting extra for watching something when it drops on debut.
Yeah, but we live in a capitalist world where we need constant growth. Everything needs to grow. So if it doesn't grow, then our capitalist masters get unhappy and then start pulling the plugs and finance and stuff like that. It's a rotten old world. I prefer the Star Trek world where we don't have money anymore, but that's just me.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Any money you get from your sales of books, you can give to me.
I'll send you a postal order, Greg. Don't worry. Yeah.
That works too. Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on tonight.
It's been a pleasure coming on. Thank you, man.
And I mean, congratulations on the success so far, and hopefully the continued success of the Unwelcome and all our projects on the way. But, ladies and gentlemen, I will finish this the way I finish every Friday night. It is in the words of the great George A. Romero, ladies and gentlemen. Stay scared.